Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Riley. I'm Eugenie.
Hi Eugene, how are you?
I'm really good. And hi, Emily.
Hi, it's so lovely to meet you.
How do you guys know each other, or are you newbies?
We met each
No,
other last week.
I see.
so we know each other through the charity SSNR, so it's been nice to meet each other, and then obviously amazing opportunity to come and meet you as well. This is great.
I know this is but yeah, I'm sorry about all my tech. I don't really know how to use technology. I don't
It's
think.
all right.
I used to be really good at this stuff, and now I'm just like totally
No, I was
anyway.
saying to Emily, there's so many calls now, Zoom calls, Google Meet. I'm still trying to keep up with them myself. I'm 22, so.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, I in COVID used this ring light all the time, and now
Mm.
I've just cracked it open for this interview because I looked so pale and the weather was a bit flat this morning. So now I'm like, this is all I've managed to be really professional and bring my own ring light to this conversation. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to chat with me today. I think what's so incredible about scoliosis is that just there's so not many people that know. It's a bit crackly, and are you guys feeling that or not?
I can move rooms if you guys want.
Maybe why don't you mute until you need to speak and then we'll
Yes,
unmute?
I'm gonna be. Okay, I found out how to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hi, Riley. Okay, so but I find that with scoliosis is that like no one's really aware of it, and I think when you even become aware of it, it's like, what is this? Like, what age did you guys find out that you even had scoliosis and this was a thing? Maybe Emily, you go first.
Yeah, I was about 14 and I was pretty much told straight away, you need to go and have the surgery. So I think it's quite a big thing to process at that age, perhaps a bit too big. I don't think I quite understood what I was getting myself into. And of course, you know, as well as we do, the surgery is incredibly difficult. And I think it takes a long time to work out how that changes your body and the impact that has physically and emotionally. It's really tough. So I
Yeah.
think I'm still getting to grips with that at 28 now.
What about you, Riley?
It's the exact same as Emily, really. I was 14 when I was diagnosed with scoliosis. Obviously, I had no idea what it was. I was just a normal kid in about year 8, year 9. When it kind of all came around, as I said on the podcast the other day, I was sat in a maths class and some girl behind me just went, "Oh, did you fall over on the weekend?" And I was like, "No, no, why? What do you mean by that?" She went, "Oh, one of your back ribs is like sticking out." And obviously checked with the teacher at the end of the class, then went to medical suite, and then by 6 o'clock in the evening I was diagnosed with scoliosis. And obviously it's a massive shock to the family and to yourself because you have no idea what it was. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I knew what it was when I was diagnosed with it. Like, my mum thought it was cancer at the start, so obviously it's a massive thing. And obviously it's not your thumb or your toe, it's your back, which obviously you rely on every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so interesting when it comes to like this kind of shock surprise, and like the mental health side of things. I was 11 and didn't know, like, I mean, I had like an X-ray and it showed half a vertebra missing, and then it was turned into be this bigger thing than it was. And I just don't think that really. I mean, you're so young. I remember recently just remembering the fact that like for me, I just remember feeling really like embarrassed because I was like, oh, when you're little, you just want to be the same as everybody else. You never want to be different. How about you guys? How did you find, or how was it for your mental health at the time?
I think for me, I've kind of thought about it in two very distinct moments. So, around the diagnosis and the surgery, it was very difficult to get my head around. And I remember post op, I was starting to get back moving. And I think that's the point where you realize that your back is still quite different. And I was trying to get back to my sports and my body wasn't working in the same way. And it's a huge confidence knock. And you do feel that you are moving slower than your peers. And when you are 15, 16, you're so conscious of that, aren't you? And I think even as an adult, it stayed as quite a big impact on my mental health. Just, again, feeling different, knowing that I couldn't stand for as long as my friends or sit for a long day at work. And I suppose that's where it comes as a second wave of emotional difficulty, is where you understand that it's a lifelong condition. You know, I'm going to have to look after my back every single day. And that is difficult to get your head around. I think you have to learn tools to manage it so that you don't feel so bogged down by that.
Do you feel affected by it today? I mean, how do you live with your surgery now?
Yeah, I'm so much better now. So I actually trained as a physiotherapist so that I could manage myself better. And it's been a real full circle moment for me. So I had my surgery in Oxford, and throughout my training, I was able to do a placement in Cambridge at Adam Brooks Hospital. And I was able to watch the spinal surgery. I don't know if you would ever want to do that, but it was
I mean, yeah,
amazing.
I would actually find that fascinating.
It was amazing. And the next day, as a physio, I got that same patient up and walking out of their bed. And I thought it was amazing that, having been in that situation myself, it was just the most amazing thing to then get them walking and feel that I was making that impact back on someone else. So I specialize in spinal fusion now. So I only see patients with spinal fusions. And
Wow.
I've learned a lot about how to manage my back and how to support others through it. So I think I'm now at that point where I understand my back so well. I'm managing it better, and it takes off that emotional stress a little bit. But I suppose it still can be difficult, can't it? Do you
Yeah,
feel the
big time.
same?
Yeah, big time. I constantly, like, when you're outside for quite a long time, I kind of get a bit creaky, I would say. And if you ever feel any kind of niggle in your back now, you do kind of just think, oh God, what have I done? But I'm so lucky that I've gone through having two children and have had no issues,
Good.
with my spine, which is just like incredible that you can live with metal rods in your back and have children. In terms of that, I'm so lucky. I do that. I've got two boys, and lifting them up right now, I'm like, by the end of the day, I'm like, but yeah, no, it's. I think I've talked about it recently that the for me it was all about like the scar and feeling different and having time out of school. Like that was really the, like, I remember that being the shame, or like feeling ashamed, which is weird that that's even a thing that comes up. And just remember that my mum took away the stigma around a scar, and made it okay, and like made me feel proud that I owned this sort of thing on my body, that I can then use it to talk about in the future and help other young people who might be going through it. What about you, Riley?
I think it's very similar to what Emily touched on, really, about like at 14 or whatever, and being in like a school atmosphere. And obviously, we all know what school's like these days. It's a very much like not like bullying, but if the school know there's something there to be had, they will have a go at you. So obviously, I had quite a difficult time in school. Like people would go, "Oh my God, like Hunchback of Notre Dame," or like little comments like that. And I think it's quite interesting now when I run the London Marathon, because so many of my close mates, they went, "Oh, I never knew you had that, Riley." And I was like, "Yeah," because I tried like to keep it quiet. London Marathon, running it for them and raising 4,500 was a massive thing for me, and actually like acceptance of, actually, do you know what? Like, I'm glad now. Because even times when I go on holiday, I wouldn't take my top off. And then I kind of learned to live that, like, this is me. This is like part of my life, and it's nice to accept it. I kind of go back to people and go, well, there's comments you called me in school. Now you go run 26.2 miles. So it's kind of like a nice, yeah,
Yeah.
kind of nice, not an ego boost, but like, it's a nice thing to say.
It's also like, hey, I can do this, and I've got metal rods in my back, and I just overcame this. Like, what have you done?
Exactly that. And like, I still get it now. Like when like I go and pick something up or whatever, people go, "Oh, do you want me to pick that up for you?" Or like make little jokes like, "Oh, be careful with your back." And I was like, obviously, don't worry, I look after my body. I know when I don't want to push it anymore, but like, I don't want people to look at me like I'm any different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh God, you're right carrying those plates for dinner, or you're right carrying that box that you picked up. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just a bit like, just I'm fine. But obviously, like both of
Yeah.
you, Princess and Emily, like you do gotta listen to your body and be careful.
Can I ask where like, how far your metal rods go down, Riley?
I think mine are three quarters, so it's literally lower half which hasn't got it, so it's a good half of the, and my back is scarred, yeah.
But
So
you
yeah.
do everything as like, nothing's been impacted in that sense. You've been able to like run 26 miles.
Yeah, so my job is a barber, so you think, wow, how's he doing that with scoliosis? But genuinely, like, to the next person next to me, I don't have that much back pain, so I have it like a normal person. But I did a call the other week, actually, someone asking about London Marathon, and I said my back was completely fine throughout. It was my knees that were the worst. So that just shows you how lucky that both of us were with the operation. I think how talented these people are.
And you guys were saying that for you it was like pretty immediate when you found out. You went straight to have operations. I know that people I've spoken to in the past haven't really. Some of them might not have an option to go straight into surgery. It's like, wear back braces and things. So was yours quite immediate? Like, sort of one day to the next?
Literally, I think what Emily said, it was like by 1 o'clock, I didn't know what it was. 2 o'clock, I knew what scoliosis was. 3 o'clock, I was booked in for an operation kind of things. We were lucky now that like with the NHS, etc. But like now, you'd be waiting ages for an operation. So yeah, we were really lucky to be to do it straight away. And then obviously had a bit of time with school, which was quite hard because it's an important GCSE period. But yeah, I was lucky how quick they acted really.
How long did you have off school?
I was off for 3 months, I want to say. Yeah, it was quite a long time. And obviously, it's so pivotal in your education, isn't it? Where you need to be there. And I'm not going to lie, I wasn't the best in school. So trying to do like online learning I didn't really have the best attention span. I needed to be there. There was too many distractions. But yeah, it wasn't ideal, but the teachers were brilliant kind of things.
I don't actually remember the learning in school part. I don't remember actually like doing my homework outside of
Nah, it's hard, isn't it?
yeah.
I was wondering before we move on if I could
Oh,
ask
yeah.
you about your scar a little bit more, because I thought it was just the most amazing thing that you were able to showcase it in your wedding dress. I thought that was so powerful, and people talk to me about it all the time. It's clearly made a massive impact on lots of people, and you've really inspired me to do the same. I'm getting married in September. I've made sure to get my scar out. It's very exciting. But I wondered if anybody had started any interesting conversations with you around that, and what kind of inspired you to get it out on show.
That is so cool. You're getting married in September. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
And you get to wear a scar on show. That's awesome. Oh, well, you're one of the first people that like is actually now getting married wearing her scar on show that has
Yeah.
actually spoken to me about it. So that is, I mean,
Wow.
yeah, I love it. I love it. I think a few people since then, mainly mums of really young people who are having surgery, have sort of said, "Oh, we saw what you did, and it was so cool." But I think hearing it from you is amazing because I'm 35, so I guess all the people that are coming up below me, having had this operation and now getting married. I just think scars they tell a story about your life. I mean, if you think about what people go through, like Paralympians and like, what they do on the world stage, like, and, Invictus Games and all these people that have overcome absolute atrocities and wear their scars with pride, like a badge of honor. And I think the same goes for these operations that young people go through. It's so easy to feel ashamed and want to hide and not want to talk about it. And Riley, as you were saying, like, you want to be like everybody else, and people make jokes, and it's it I personally think they're all so beautiful, and that everybody should. It's like a story of your life. It's a I've got a scar on my hand from a dog bite, for example, but it reminds me of that holiday we went on when I was 4 years old, or you know what I mean? It's just, and I think the scar for me reminds me of like something enormous to overcome when you're just hitting puberty, when you're going through schooling life, when you're trying to fit in, when you might be tested by bullies, or you might be, having to be a different person in the pack. I don't know. I just think it's cool as a reminder to say, like, yeah, you did that, and like it's really tangible. Sometimes these scars are really internal, very mental things that we can't explain. Wearing something on your sleeve like that is really cool, I think.
I think what's brilliant as well is obviously Emily doing that with her scar at her wedding, and also you doing it as well, Princess, and obviously me running the London Marathon for scoliosis support and research. See, when you got diagnosed with it, Princess, was there like any like supports like out there for you? Because obviously scoliosis support and research is quite a new one kind of thing, and I feel like when even I had it when I was 14, there wasn't really much out there. Like no one knew what it was. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say I knew what scoliosis was. Did you find anything like support system or anything when you were diagnosed with it?
No, I didn't actually. That's such a good point. There weren't charities that I look for now, but I think especially as a young person, like, between 11 and 15 or whatever it is that we're all getting these operations,
Mhm.
I just don't know if the resources are out there for parents to look for. And as you say, this organization, Scoliosis Research, like, I never had anything like that. I think my support system were my family, my parents and my sister, and like the hospital, I guess, because it's the same like a school. It's like schools and hospitals are the ones that they're like the pinnacle of society that you look to for all your, I don't know, tell me what's wrong with me, or help me read a book. So No, I didn't have any support really. I mean, sorry, let me rephrase that. I had amazing support from my family, but none when it comes to like peer groups like us being able to chat now is so nice. And
Yeah.
like, I think also, I've got a girl that I know is just having an operation now, and she's in her late 20s, early 30s, and she didn't have the right information when she was our age when we had it done. And I think now she's had to live with, back braces and like eating well and exercising every day and like doing the right muscle work and all this stuff that when you're 11 to 30, I mean, in your 20s, you want to be, and your teens, you want to be going out and having fun and
Yeah.
seeing friends. And I don't think you want to be thinking about that. So I just think being able to talk to young people and make them feel not alone. I mean, even something as small as, not as small, but actually when you go through the operation, all that stuff that comes with it, like being immobile, not being able to walk to the shower, having to use like bedpans, like being rolled around by your nurse because you can't move, like all that stuff, like that was, I didn't know any of it, which is maybe a good thing because I wasn't apprehensive about
Yeah.
it. But when you're in it, you're like, oh my god, this is terrible. Like I wish now looking back, I love being able to like talk about that because it's just something that it's kind of terrifying, really. What about you
It's
guys?
so scary. It's really tough, isn't it? And I think that I almost say this to some people, it's perhaps better to go into the op younger and naively, and people go in at 30 and they have done all this research, and I think that's almost harder.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting what you say about the support around exercise. Obviously, from a physiotherapy point of view, that's where I'm very passionate, because a lot of people don't get taught how to prepare for the op, and they don't get taught how to look after their spine long term. I found that really hard to access movement that I could do. Is there anything that you've found helpful yourself to keep strong and manage your pain?
Yeah, I have my lower back goes like curves in, I guess. Well, like I take a lot of the strain on my lower back. So I find Pilates has been like absolute lifesaver. And generally just being like exercising, I can lift weights and stuff with my spine, which is amazing. I think whenever I know I'm really fit, my back is like feeling really good. And so like that's been really key for me. And also just like the way you lift things, like lifting with your legs and not just your back. What
Well,
about
it's
what
an
about
interesting
you guys?
one. I train a lot of people to feel a bit more confident lifting with their back, but you have to start really small because it is nerve-wracking. It's like what you said earlier, if you feel even a slight niggle in your back, you can panic a little bit. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's nerve-wracking. Yeah.
What about you, Riley? You must have trained so hard for the marathon, like running that far. Did you worry that it was gonna like jiggle the rods out of place? Sometimes I panic about stuff like that.
No, that's so true. That was one of my biggest worries actually, because with your back, it's connected to everything. So it's connected to your knees and your lower back, and it's connected to your hamstrings. So I was having slight like problems with my hamstrings or whatever, and I think that's I was so determined to do it, and obviously, like we both said, we've got to listen to our bodies, isn't it? And with my job, I'm trying to balance cutting hair 24/7 alongside running a marathon. So it was quite an ego thing or whatever, where it's like, no, like I want to do this, I want to do this, but like I said, it's so pivotal. You got to look after your back. So obviously, at the end of the day, we have got metal rods in our back, and we shouldn't really be pushing it 26.2 miles. And even my mum said, I remember I got finished London Marathon, and I was like, I can't wait to do that again. And she was like, you do realise you're not built to be a marathon runner. You have got metal rods put in your back. But I think that's where we've all said the operation was so good. And sometimes we forget we even have it. But luckily, I've never really been a gym person. That was, going to be my question to you guys. How do you like feel when you go gym or you're doing weights or doing deadlifts and you looking at yourself thinking, oh God, I probably shouldn't do this. But my physio did say, obviously, it's so important to build muscle in your back and like try and strengthen it. But and at the same time, just don't overdo it. And I think that was the scary thing going into London Marathon.
I also find nowadays, I went to physio the other day because I hadn't been to one for ages, and he was like, actually, your back and your alignment's fine because you worry that your hips are off or your knees or whatever because of your surgery. I still sort of move a little bit to the right, and he was like, actually, the biggest problem for you is that you work at a computer and you need to get your bands out and sort of stretch your arms in the morning, and like
Yeah.
he was like, this is the biggest worry for a generation now, is that like if you forget scoliosis for a minute, actually, we all should be worrying about our shoulders turning in because we're all sitting on the computer. So that's something that now I mix with my like being careful of that, but also
Good.
like not thinking that you have to just rush into everything, and like like focusing on, like I think exercising for someone with scoliosis is important, not just being like, I can be like everybody else and I have to do this as well,
It's so important. And I think especially post-op, we have to be so mindful of the parts of our spine that are not fused. Especially, it sounds like all three of us have got that little chunk at the bottom of our spine that's still free to move. And
Yeah.
it compounds all the movement we should have had in our spine is all pressured into that lower bit of our spine. So I try really hard to educate people on keeping that bit mobile, but being so strong, like athlete strong in your core, in your glutes, in your hips, so that we are supporting that area. But I do think that this operation has obviously made us think about our health perhaps 30 years earlier than others. So maybe when we're 80, we'll be really fit and we
We'll
won't
be really
shrink.
fit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Well, I'd
positives.
like to hear the tips about how we keep our lower back, glutes, and hips strong.
That's a good point. I never really thought about that, to be fair.
Yeah.
Everyone's moaning about their back in 30 years, guys. We'll be ahead of the game.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
hope so. I mean, I think that the most important thing is that you are doing something you enjoy so that it's sustainable. So great that you do Pilates. I do a lot of Pilates as well. In our classes and our Pilates classes that are adapted for spinal fusion, there's lots of balance and stability work. So we're almost trying to make your back a little bit irritated and a little bit unstable so your core learns to get you back on track and
Yeah.
support you. Because I don't know if you've experienced, but if you haven't done that training and you kind of step off the pavement suddenly or you're dodging something, you can really tense up because your back's not used to that. And when it's that small segment in our lower back that's doing all of that work to stabilize, it's a lot of pressure on there. So we have to keep an eye on it and keep it being strong and well.
And what would you guys, because how would you guys empower and sort of advocate for young people who are being diagnosed with scoliosis now?
We do so much of this. So I think the way that you've done it in terms of showing that you're living well with your scoliosis is incredibly important. It's had a massive impact on me. So thank you. And I hope that I can give that to the next generation. So I do a lot to show that I can do different sports, that I can do really hard things. So, for example, my company, we're taking a group of people solely with spinal fusions up Snowdon next month.
Wow.
And yeah, I think that that's going to be a really powerful statement of, again, like Riley's marathon, we've got all this metal work in our back, but look at us go. And I think that's probably the best way to empower and advocate for that younger generation, is to show them how much they can do so they don't feel that they're stuck with their diagnosis and they actually go out and do the things they want to do.
I think similar to what Emily touched on, I was so eager to give back to the younger generation because I'm still on like the Facebook group chats now, and it's sad to see like 6, 7 year old people, like boys who are playing football and girls who are like doing gymnastics, and it's so disheartening to see them think that they can no longer do it, and obviously being judged like I touched on earlier, and seeing their mates go and do great things with great teams. And I was in a similar thing, like obviously when I was diagnosed when I was 14, I was playing football, cricket, I was playing quite a decent standard, and obviously just like that, and it was like an overnight thing. 1 minute I was playing, next week I was told I can't do any contact sport for 6 months. I think I saw my sister run Yeah, I saw my sister run London Marathon for epilepsy last year, and I thought, I'd love to give back to scoliosis. And luckily, I was given the opportunity to. And yeah, it was just a thing just to show people that like there's no wall too big to climb. Obviously, doing the biggest marathon in the world was the biggest thing to do. That really to show people, and obviously, like listen to your body. Obviously, there's a limit, but don't look at yourself any different to like the people next to you, and don't stop your life like both of you have shown, like Princess, I think you've done, and Emily obviously been a physio now, and it's just a bit of it's such a nice thing to give back to a charity. It's done a lot for me, and I like to be an icon to people, and I've even had messages and phone calls from people after the marathon saying, oh, my son's got scoliosis, or my husband's debating the surgery, and it's nice that people can look at me and go, well, Riley done London Marathon, Mum, Dad, why can't I do it?
I don't know about you guys, but my sister and a couple of people have come to me being like, oh, how do I sort of screen my kids for scoliosis? Yeah. My nieces are only 4 months and 3 years old, but she's now thinking like, how do I screen my children for this so that we can get them the right help earlier on? Like, could it be preventable? And, is it something that we can get the necessary advice to sort of feel better about it? So that's something that I think is really, for young mums or for mums in general, I think like, take your children to a physio and have them look at their bones, see how they grow. I mean, mine was a half a vertebra, which led to scoliosis. And then I guess for other young people, I'd say, like, yeah, as you said, don't compare yourself to the next person, because what you're going through is like superhuman, and that's going to be amazing for your life, and it's going to shape you into the human that you are, and you'll then run marathons and become physios and do all this cool stuff.
And for you, Princess, what advice would you give to someone who's like been recently diagnosed with scoliosis? As we both said, like we all said, we were so young at the time, and obviously, well, as you've been being a bit of an inspiration and ambassador, what advice would you give?
Well, yeah, I guess I would say, you're superhuman. Don't compare yourself. Like, I think time is such a strange construct when you're really young, and as you say, like, you can't do contact sports for 6 months, and that's like the worst thing that could ever happen to you as a kid.
Literally.
And did you go back to contact sports, by the way?
Yeah, I did. So luckily my physio was superb and my body kind of healed naturally. So I was back within 3 to 4 months. But obviously you're running around like a loose puppy, aren't you? And at that age, you're not quite realising what you've gone through. The parents are like, Riley, Riley, Riley. So you kind of want to get straight back to it. So yeah, luckily my operation went smooth, and I was back playing it, within 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, so I just think I'd say that, like, the people that look after you are superhuman as well, and don't compare yourself. Know that this is something that's going to, like, make you rather than break you. And, like, it's so easy to say this, but, like, don't feel ashamed or don't feel nervous. Just know that this will make you into the person that you are.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
so
quite good advice.
important. I think the only thing I would add to that is to utilize your community and to reach out to people. It's a small proportion of the population, but odds are that there'll be somebody else at your school with scoliosis. Quite often it's genetic, and so you might have somebody else in your family. Reach out to the charities, get as much support as you can, because we're all waiting here to lift you up and support you through it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Exactly. Reach out to. I know that when I say to people, I've got scoliosis, and they go, "Oh my God, me too," and it's here, and I'm like, oh. It's like you
Yeah.
become part of a little club. It's like, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's the thing. I put the post when I was running London Marathon. I put my little like story, and then obviously my QR code for my donation from my Just Giving. And so many people turned around to me and went, "Mate, I've known you for like 3 or 4 years. Like, how I never know you've had this." And it was like nice to like I said, to be like, this is my story. And obviously, all three of us, how inspirational we can be, how we've accepted it in our life and gone on to prove what we can do, and obviously be like a circle for someone's support system. So it's really nice. It's really refreshing, actually.
Yeah.
Because
And
my
I
mum
feel
said
really
the other
close to
day,
you guys.
like, you've never accepted it. And I was like, well, now I have.
Yeah. I was just saying, I feel really close to you guys now, because it's like we're all part of the same club.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I remember the first time I met someone with a fusion, and we'd never met before, but you have such a deep connection. You've been through this really tough time, and I think we understand it much more than anybody else ever could, and it does bring us all together. It's really powerful.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much for joining me, and me joining you, and letting me chat to you about all this stuff. Like,
No, thank you.
hopefully this is good for people to know that, like, there are groups out there who are willing to support and talk and teach and learn and all that stuff. So yeah, it's important.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And really, really from the bottom of my heart, thank you for advocating for us. I think seeing you in your wedding dress was such a powerful moment for me, and I know for so many people. And I've been running my spinal fusion classes and my physio. We've been doing it for about 5 years now. And I hear so many people, they're like, "Oh, did you see Janie's wedding dress?" And it's always a really exciting thing for people to discover when they know they're going to have a scar. And so anytime that you speak out about it, it makes such a huge impact. So thank you so much.
Oh, I'm chuffed, guys. Chuffed.